arriving in the last 24 hours at Fufusu, to be very specific, a suburb of Central Gonja district in that region. Salifu Adam is a youth leader in that community.
They started dropping in our community, coming to our community without the notice of the youth. We will see that 40, 50 people have just come in a car. Even the car that the car that brings them to the community, we don't even know we don't even know the class. We can't even identify them. They normally come around within 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock. They normally come only with their wives and some other small children, not even a motorbike. They just come to the community looking for rooms to rent. Actually, it's a threat to the youth of this community. And secondly, they always come here without even our chief and some elders of the community. We the youth even find out from them, and they said for them they don't even understand the language the people are even speaking. They learn their Mosis. If you ask some of them, that some other people who understand the Mosi language, they have a chat with them and they said there is a war between them and some other people around their area within the Burkina side. That is why they are running away to this community. And there are more than 300 currently as I'm speaking to you. So it's a threat to we the youth. Because for the past 5-6 months ago, there was an information and videos circulating that terrorists are moving around to people communities, which we're flipping around people community, which we don't know. We suspect that this will be one of them. They just move around. We don't know where they are coming from. No NADMON official have come to check on them. No Central Gonja, this assembly has not also come to our aid. They look for rules around the bush area, just the edge, the ending part of the community. That is why they normally look for rooms to stay.
What do you want the District Security Council and the Regional Security Council to do about the situation?
We want them to come and to take a tour and then a thorough investigation about these people. We want them to come to our community and let us know where these people are coming from. We want them to come and know whom they have contacted before coming to this our community, and we want them to investigate them. We don't know where they are coming from. If care is not taken, one day we will get up and all of us have been bombed or been killed in this community.
Tell me what you are going to do. I hear that you may be staging a protest tomorrow.
We were going to do a protest, to do a demonstration for our leaders to come out and tell us where these people are coming from. Actually, some of our fathers from our houses are telling us to hold on. They will go into this matter and get back to us. They will come and let us understand what is actually the problem before we then proceed.
Well, regional correspondent in the Savannah regional area is joining me right now. He's been following up on this for us all day. Isaac Nonya. Thank you, Isaac, for the work you've been doing trying to get this confirmed for us. Tell me, what have you discovered?
Hello.
Yes, Isaac.
Yes.
What have you managed to confirm?
Well, it is true that these visitors are in Fufusu, and they'll be here close to 2 weeks without any official sitting down with them to know where they're coming from and also to know their purpose. It's also true that there's somebody in the community by necessarily keeping them. And it's also true that there's no any form of identification among any of these people who are in the community. It took a few group of youth to raise the alarm and then therefore bringing the media in the front line of these people. So as we speak, we are told that the district chief executive of Central Gonja, who happens to be the DASEC chairman, is mobilizing some other officers to visit and find out these people where they're coming from. We are equally told that the assemblyman of the area and then one other sub-chief are claiming that the people do visit for farming every year. So the question we asked them, which they could not provide the answer is, when was the last time these people came here to visit? And do they have farms that line waiting for them to come and farm again? That answer was not forthcoming. So we are saying that these people are strangers who have come into the community, and once the residents say they are afraid, they don't know that they have never seen them, there should be a solution to their presence there, either they're going back or not. I will speak the limited facility in terms of rooms. Fufusu is just a community, a limited number of people who are there. But once the people need rooms to rent, it means that there will be a burden on the limited resources that are there. There will be competition for whatever the community are managing. They want confirmation as to where they are going from here or they are staying with them, and to know whether their security or their lives are safe in the hands of these people.
Yeah, and talking about the security situation, we just heard that the youth leader, and they've been planning protest on this. The main fear is some of these individuals may have terrorist elements amongst them. How are community people dealing with this concern? And I wonder if the local authorities are addressing it in any way.
Yes, Evans, until the youth raised the alarm, I think the elders were fine with that. They didn't see any danger of that. But now the elders are trying to sit down and call the gentleman keeping some of them, accommodating some of them. Because he claimed to be a Mboshi. He was born and bred in Fufusu, the Marco Sule. But the other danger is that there's a suburb of that community who residents are also trying to come in terms with the youth of Fufusu to protest for these people not to extend to their community. So it now depends on what the RESEC and then the DASEC of Central Gonja will do with these people, whether they will hand them over to NADMO or they will find another way of relocating them or keeping them in check to prevent any violence between them and then the indigenes of Fufusu and then around Makban.
Is anybody in particular housing these 500 or so, we understand, who crossed in a week ago?
Yes. There is a gentleman who was born and bred in Fufusu.
Yeah, so you talked about that. I wonder, you talked about that, but I wonder if the local assembly, the District Security Council, is taking official formal steps to accommodate them, and also ensure that they are restricted in an area where they can screen them to ensure that terrorists are not taking advantage of this to then as we've heard from the community, cause harm.
Yes, Evan. It takes our media report for officialdom to try to intervene. Until that, they have been there for 1 to 2 weeks without any form of checks or apprehension to make sure that these people are not do not pose threats. We also know that there's a police post around Fufusu. They're in charge over there, together with the district commander, Central Gonja. They said this evening they'll be moving to the community to try to sit down with these people and to understand where they're coming from, then report to regional command and then RESEC.
Thankfully, we'll get some further clarity on this when we talk to the regional the chair of the Regional Security Council, the regional minister, who will join us pretty shortly. But let's get further clarity on the situation there. Let's bring in the Ghana Refugee Board. Tete Paddy is Executive Secretary of the Ghana Refugee Board and joins us on the line right now. Mr. Paddy, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you for having me, Evan.
Yes, the concerns from the community and the youth there were planning a protest tomorrow. Do we know any more about this latest group of people? The community people put the number 500 who had come in. What are your official reports telling you about this?
Right. So we at Ghana Refugee Board, first of all, we work with the security agencies because we know that as much as this is a humanitarian situation, it's also very much a security situation. And so before we go into register, we have the go-ahead from the relevant security agencies. Apart from that, we are setting up a transit center, a reception center, where we're going to work together with the security agencies at that center. So as people come in and want to register, they are screened before we register them and then take them through proper refugee status determination procedures. Now, with respect to the group that you are referring to, we have not dealt with that group yet. We've registered so far over 1,000 Burkinabés who have actually gone through the right processes. But we also know that there are several more who are coming in, given that the situation is not getting any better. But we do not compromise the procedures at all, and make sure that whatever needs to be done to maintain our own safety and that of the refugees is done.
And
so the straight answer to that group is that we've not attended to them yet.
And I wonder, because of the work you're doing and the risks associated, you just talked about, making sure that you don't expose yourself to all these risks. How closely are you working with the security agencies? Because we know sometimes miscreants, terrorists, and we're in the sub-region surrounded by a lot of that, could take advantage of this. The president himself has talked about this recently. How close are you working with the security agencies to first identify, but also, while protecting yourself, also protecting the community, whilst you're trying to integrate and host them?
Very closely, Evan. We don't go into the field without security, without protection. As I said, we are not taking anything for granted at all. We make sure that before we deal with any group, we are sure that they are cleared for us to deal with. In fact, we do not do any registration unless we have security clearance. And even with that, it is not the end of it all. When we are registering, we look out, our people are trained to look out for certain signals. If there's any doubts or any suspicions, we pass people on to the security agencies. Yeah. So that's what we do.
So 1,000 formally registered so far. Where are these people being kept? How are you taking care of them?
Right. So they are actually over 1,000, getting close to 2,000. These people are living in the community, not on their own. Some of them are on their own. There are few groups who are on their own. Those who are on their own, security has advised, and we are preparing a place to move them to. These are people who are close to the border. It's the proximity to the border is not safe for them, and it is not safe for the communities that they are residing in currently. And so we are moving them away from those areas to areas that are far enough from the border, which will enable us to carry out more screening while we do the registration. We think that this will be the right thing to do to protect both the host communities and the refugees, and indeed ourselves.
You said the communities they currently are in unsafe for them. Why is that?
The closeness to the border makes it unsafe for them. For instance, if indeed they're running away from people who are aiming to cause them harm, and they are close to the border, it makes it easy for them to be attacked if any such persons want to do so. And so the reason why the locations close to the border is unsafe.
And you talked about there are more refugees or people still crossing from Burkina Faso, in some of them already in these parts of Ghana, still not documented yet. What's the challenge with keeping tabs with everybody else coming in? Is it overwhelming? Is it because of the sheer numbers of people crossing on a daily basis?
We are not overwhelmed yet. We don't have those huge numbers coming in. It's a few hundred over a few weeks. So it's not overwhelming. Ghana Refugee Board has a presence in the region now. We have an office in the regional capital, and that's where we are operating from. And so as I speak to you, currently, our staff are in the field registering people who have been cleared for us to register. So I would not say that we are at a point where we are overwhelmed. But that is not to belittle the situation that we have on our hands. Things are not getting any better in Burkina, and so chances are more people will come in. And we are activating our contingency plans, which we have for all situations, to make sure that if there's a huge influx, we will be able to take care of it. And we're working very closely with our partners, the UNHCR, who are providing all the support that we need to make sure that we contain the situation.
Thank you very much. And that is the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Refugee Board, Tete Paddy there, confirming to us tonight that as far as the refugee status or the refugee situation is concerned, because of the conflict in Burkina Faso, they're having to deal now with official numbers. Please, the number of people they've so far registered close to 2,000 people, and many of them still crossing in on a daily, weekly basis. There's a recent influx of about 500 people. They are yet to formally register them. That is the number. The recent influx was causing a bit of a rise in tensions between the community and these individuals who had fled into the country, particularly in the Savannah region. Thankfully, we can speak to the Savannah Regional Minister, Said Muhaza Jibril, who also chairs the Regional Security Council. Mr. Jibril, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you very much, Evans.
We just finished talking to the Ghana Refugee Board, and they confirmed that they can tell us close to 2,000 people they have on record. For the Regional Security Council, what is your own official numbers in talking about people crossing into Ghana?
Good evening, Evans, and good evening to your cherished listeners. I think the geographical location of Savannah region makes it very attractive for the influx of the refugees from Burkina Faso and then La Côte d'Ivoire. One of the reasons being that we have vast land that is uncultivated, very green pasture for the nomads to come around and then spend some 2-3 months and to go back. But with recent influx of refugees that we are getting in Savannah region, has nothing to do with these nomads, but also has something to do with the terrorist activities in the Burkina Faso. In fact, just recently, about 2 days ago, we had numbers of over 50 to 100 settling in one particular village called Fufulso Junction in the central Gunja district. And in fact, it is raising eyebrows with the communities are not happy about that. But the official numbers that we have recorded so far by the Ghana Immigration Service is over 3,000 refugees that we have received or that are settling currently in the Savannah region. The recent one that we are battling with is about these are women and children, basically women and children who have fled some village in the Burkina Faso and have come to settle with the Moshi chief in this particular village. And I am told he is from that village and he has asked his relatives to come. And once they came, it became a safe haven for the others to follow. And so this is the current situation we have in that particular village in the Savannah region.
And so, as far as the Security Council is concerned, when you say these are women and children,
Yes.
Are you vouching that you are setting that Mexicans and people who want to cause people harm, put it bluntly, terrorist elements may not be infiltrating that group? That is a fundamental concern of the community.
Sure. I think we are putting a recce in place for today. The regional police commander and some other security officials visited the community. But unfortunately, when they got there, just a few of the women and children were there. We couldn't find the men, but we have information that they come there in the evening. And so we are putting a lot of intelligence in place and security in place to make sure that by tomorrow we would have known whether there are male counterparts who are coming into those communities or particularly that community in the evening. So there are other security measures we have put in place that we don't want to openly or publicly say it, and maybe that community will start panicking and a lot of problems will encounter a lot of problems. So tomorrow we want to do screening of those refugees by Ghana Immigration Service. So what we are trying to do now is that we'll make sure that security is there this evening and to make sure that we are able to get the men who are visiting them in the evening or in the night under the cover of the darkness. This is what we've been told. And so maybe when we get one or two of the men from there, we can have a lot of information as to what is going on in that community. But for now, we've engaged the chief who has brought his relatives into that community, and that has led to the influx of these other ones from that particular village in Burkina Faso.
And when you engaged that chief, what was the outcome? And maybe some of the community members want the Security Council to take charge of this and not leave it for individuals and chiefs to decide where to host them and how to host them and inviting other people in. What's the plan going forward on that?
Sure. When we met the chiefs in that area, they actually told us that it has been a yearly affair. They always come during the rainy season. You know, it has started raining in Savannah region, in the north. So they come to do farming and to go back. And a lot of them, when they come, they don't want to go back. They try to build their own houses and to stay. So they've given them a particular area in which they've done about 6 houses that we counted there. But this time around, the number that has come is so frightening for even the community itself. And so they are really worried. And so they are telling us that tomorrow when we finish with the screening, they are going to get a particular location for the refugees to settle and then do their normal farming that some of them come to do and to go back to Burkina. But this time around, they've seen that some of them haven't actually come to do farming, but just that they have run away from the terrorist attacks in their country. That is precisely Burkina Faso.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time, for that update there in the Savannah region. That's a Savannah Regional Minister there, Said Muhaza Jibril, telling us about the security arrangements. They're deploying security and police right now to try and keep tabs on the latest influx of people from Burkina Faso. Listening in on all that is Dr. Festus Kofi Orban, is a head of research and capacity building with the West African Network for Peace Building. He's done some extensive work in that part of the country when it comes to the possibility of terrorist infiltrations. Joins us on the line. Doc, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you very much, Ivan.
You've just been listening to the chairman of the Regional Security Council. What do you make of the approach you're adopting to deal with this potential threat, but also women and children coming in who may be fleeing the conflict in Burkina Faso?
Thank you very much. I think that, first of all, I think most of the interventions that are being put in place have come a little bit late. I'm saying this because when the Burkina Faso situation started, we all knew that due to the worsening situation in Burkina, there was possible influx of refugees, asylum seekers to Ghana. So one would have thought that by now we'll have some of the measures that he's talking about in place to deal with the possible influx of potential extremists among these asylum seekers. Because as we speak, and from the conversations I've heard so far, most of these people are being housed by the border communities. They are hosting most of these asylum seekers, women, children, which for me, I think shouldn't be the case in terms of they being the first point of a call when these people arrive in the country. So for me, I think that they need to fast-track some of the things that they are doing.
Yeah, and Doc, let me ask you, how real is this threat that the community is expressing about the potential for terrorists to take advantage of what is happening in Burkina Faso, and then under the cover of asylum and refugee, they then infiltrate? How real is that threat?
Well, if we take it from the experiences from other countries that have experienced similar situations in the Sahel, I mean, there have always been the possibility of extremist groups taking advantage of the asylum system to actually infiltrate and also gain access into the country, especially when the process of screening is not all that stringent to actually identify some of these extremist groups. So I think it's a threat that we cannot underestimate, especially also looking at the nature of our borders and also the number of people who are coming in and day out. And so it's a threat that we should not underestimate. And also the fact that most of them are also fleeing these extremist attacks in their country of origin. You know, sometimes if you learn from experiences from the Lake Chad Basin and also the Sahel, there are times some of these extremists even recruit some of these people who have come to seek asylum or refugee status to even undertake their activities in the host countries. So it's a threat that we need to pay attention to. It's a threat that we need to put measures in place to make sure that everyone entering is properly screened, so we deal with any potential influx of these people into the country.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Festus Kofi Obeng is the head of research and capacity building at the West Africa Network for Peace Building, WANEP. And in the last few hours, Amnesty International has just published a report into the activities of the soldiers of Burkinabe military forces, and they are now documenting many cases of massacre and potential human rights violations, crimes against humanity. They document a case on the 20th of April in a town called Kama. It's a village 15 kilometers from Wahuguya in the north of the country. Elements, they claim, of the Burkinabe army entered the village at 7:30 a.m. in the morning in what villagers believe to be a routine patrol. Amnesty International, in this report just published, say the soldiers rounded the inhabitants up, collected their identity documents, and then shot the villagers at point-blank range, killing at least 147 people. And as we've just been hearing there from the Regional Security Council, many of these women and children have crossed over and still crossing over into Ghana in search of safety and refuge. But as you've heard, there's also the real threat that some of these warring factions, extremist groups, may take advantage of that also, which has raised alarm bells and placed the Regional Security Council on high alert. And there's a deployment of police now to try and monitor the influx of men beyond the women and children arriving to ensure that this doesn't become an issue that Ghana will also have to deal with because of the potential threat. If you are in and around the Savannah region and seen anything, heard anything, want to share with us, feel free. 055-1111-997. Newsnight in a minute.
Ever visited a shop, picked a whole basket of provisions, toiletries, and very essential things you need, battled a long queue to finally pay, only to be told you can't pay to a merchant number the way that thing they pay, but with Vodafone Cash, there is no problem. Now on Vodafone Cash, you can pay all merchants on all networks. Easy peasy. Aye straight. Aye direct. Aye sharp. From your Vodafone Cash wallet to any merchant number on other networks. So whether you are buying provisions or fuel, medication or food, whatever the service or need, just pay conveniently from Vodafone Cash to any merchant number. Simply dial *110# to make payment to merchants on other networks today.
Vodafone.
Wouldn't you prefer an apartment hotel? One that offers the utmost convenience of a boutique hotel while offering the idyllic comfort of your own private home. Oasis Park Residences offers luxury studios, 1, 2 and 3 bedrooms both for short and long-term rental at competitive rates. Our Sky swimming pool, gourmet outdoor restaurant, and a fully equipped gym rest on a breathtaking rooftop with panoramic views of the city. Oasis Park Residences, located at Shashi Tetekwashi, 10 minutes from the International Airport, is the ideal place for all your accommodation needs. Why don't you give us a call on 020-4343-009 or visit our website at oasisparkresidences.com to make your reservations. Oasis Park Residences, more than a home.
Give me the drums. Give me the bass. Now, hit it.
Celebration.
GH Music's biggest night is here. Happening live Saturday, 6th May at the Grand Arena. A night of glitz and glamour. Show-stopping performances, plus all the drama that comes out with Who Wins What. Performing live, Sarkodie, Black Sheriff, Jackie, PSA Esther, Medical, Last Minute, Episode, Oforian Ponsa, Kim Promise. Limited tickets are out for 500 Ghana cedis and 700 Ghana cedis VIP on *713*33*24#. And also at Nalam Stores, Accra Mall and Charterhouse. For VVIP, call 050-1288-520. The 24th VGMAs is powered by Charterhouse and sponsored by TV3, KPMG, Yango, our media partners, and Vodafone.
Our music lives.
In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, the alarming rate of youth unemployment in Ghana revealed. We have details of the latest statistical service report showing how unemployment rate among the youth shot up by 25% in just a year.
About a fifth of our youth are not doing any of these. 15 to 35, they are not in employment, they are not in education, and they are not in training. We call it the NEET.
We explore the security implications of the current youth unemployment bulge as it emerges. The bulk of the youth group still unemployed and neither in school nor in any training.
You have the dream of going to school to get a job and then go through the hustle, and then after the years you don't get anything, even though you are trying as much as you can to get a job.
We'll hear from some of these unemployed young men and women. Also tonight, Ghana's latest World Press Freedom Index, worse in 18 years as the country drops 2 places to rank 62nd in the world. Tonight we ask, what's the way out as GJA blames a consistent decline on abuse of journalists?
The Minister of Justice disclosed that the docket on Ahmed Suwani has not reached his office, considering the fact that this office has prosecutorial powers.
But government maintains it has done enough to deepen press freedom in Ghana.
It is therefore not surprising that despite the challenge, Ghana's media landscape has largely been highly rated by international experts as free and independent.
Well, sounds of angry customers of collapsed Gold Coast Fund Management Company picketing the Securities and Exchange Commission to demand the release of their locked-up funds. We will hear from some of the customers on how they have been coping after nearly 5 years of non-payment of their monies.
Minister of Finance promised we were going to pay them. He became a bit better. Now, the whole of yesterday, he couldn't speak. We just from the hospital. Right here is in the car.
Well, they've been protesting. We have details of that.
We are calling on the nation. This is not our fight alone. Let the nation arise. It started with the financial cleanup exercise. It got to individual bondholders. It got to pension bondholders. Now pension funds are on the way to be cashed.
In business,
Bank of Ghana moves to support bulk oil distributors with more dollars as it advances $20 million to these importers.
And in sports, fans of Paris Saint-Germain called for the exit of Lionel Messi following the club's sanction on him for unauthorized trip to Saudi Arabia. But the Argentine forward has already made his mind.
And then later, we'll bring you that election headquarters build-up, focusing on one of, as many people put it, front runners in the race to lead the NDC into the 2024 election. Stay with us as we beg you to reveal who that person is and the details that we've been gathering after talking to him. Stay here on Newsnight. Plus your views later on 05511119997. Let's start tonight with that latest report from the Ghana Statistical Service. In just a year, the rate of youth unemployment in Ghana has shot up to 25% from the previous 19.5%. That's according to the latest Ghana Statistical Service data, which reveals that a sizable number of those group is neither in school nor in training. Over 1.7 million Ghanaians are unemployed, with some unable to find jobs, unable to find food to eat, and are multidimensionally poor. Here's the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobana Enin.
Our youth that are not doing the three things that we expect them to do. We expect our youth to either be in school, education, training, or employment. And about a fifth of our youth are not doing any of these. 15 to 35 years. They are not in employment, they are not in education, and they are not in training. We call it the NEET. Not in education, not in employment, and not in training. Honorable Deputy Minister, our goal at Statistical Service is to point policymakers to what we think or how we think they need to target these issues. So it is not just the fact that we put out a statistics that about a quarter of our youth are unemployed. We're providing further information on where you can maximize your gains if you decide to deal with it. So we interrogate the data and tell the policymaker that it peaks at age 21. So most of our youth at age 21, that is where you don't find them doing any of these three things. And that is where you can maximize your returns, rather than targeting the age bracket 30 to 35. So if you really want to maximize your gains in addressing the issue, then target age 21. And if you think about this carefully, it coincides with the transition from school to work.
So now that we know the extent of the problem, what can be done about it? Listen to the government statistician.
At any point in time, 1.7 million persons are unemployed in Ghana. These are predominantly female, specifically 2 out of every 3. For the first time, we've given out the unemployment spell in Ghana, and close to 160,000 persons have consistently remained unemployed in the first 3 quarters of 2022. As we indicated, at any point in time, we have 11 million people who are unemployed. But if you really want to find out those who are employed, if you want to find out those who are consistently employed, you get 7.5 million. What this tells us that 3.5 million people that ordinarily will say they are employed would always move in and out of employment, making them very vulnerable. Our status for vulnerable employment has not changed. Since 2013, 10 years on, we still have 2 out of every 3 persons who are unemployed. And if you trace why people become unemployed, you find out that about 2/3 of them are those who are in vulnerable employment. We really need to get out of the informal status that we find ourselves, because on the average, it's contributing about 5 times more to unemployment than formal employment.
Let's break this down a bit further. Kofi J, data analyst in the studio with me. Kofi, how did this get this alarming when you look at the rate?
So, Evans, we know that Ghana's national security has actually tagged youth unemployment as one of the key threats to the stability of the country. So this is the scary picture, Evans. So overall, unemployment rate is around 13.4%, but youth unemployment is now 25%. So you're looking at the overall figure, 13.4%. And youth unemployment rate of 25%. So as of the 3rd quarter of last year, if you sample 100 Ghanaian youth who were available and ready to work, you find 25 of them unemployed or without work.
That's a significant number. Do we know what this translates into in terms of real numbers?
So in real numbers, the Statistical Service did not really put that specific number to it, but we know that 25% is high, because if you look at what it was 2021, it was 19.7. So to move from 19.7 to 25%, that's a significant jump.
Okay, let's quickly bring in Dr. Wusu Keja, is a chief statistician at the Ghana Statistical Service, hopefully with more clarity on these numbers. Thank you, Doc, for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you so much for having me.
That question I asked earlier, does the statistical service know the percentage we've just been talking about, what it translates into actual numbers?
Yes, but before that, let me correct this impression that the 25% means that if we take 100 youth, then 25 out of that will be considered unemployed. And so within the population, we have three main groups. So you have the people who are employed, the category that are unemployed, and a third category which we call the people who are outside the labor force. And so these are people who possibly are undergoing training or because of some other reasons are not working, disability and some other stuff. You could also have another group who, even though were engaged in some economic activity, we are considering them as unemployed, as not employed, because the work that they did is such that they did not receive payment or profit, as helps us to define what employment is. And so when we are putting out these numbers, we need to be careful how we interpret it. To your question that relates to the numbers, I need to get it right. We have the numbers, but I need to make reference before I can put it out in the public domain.
And the impression that you were talking about, it is, breaking it down and segregating the numbers is I guess is where, as I say, the devil is in the detail, and our focus was the rate of youth unemployment, which we wanted to touch on. Where if you look at the other research around, the focus is on what that challenge is for youth that are unemployed, and how then that becomes a fertile ground for recruitment for all manner of nefarious activities. That's why we're focusing on that question.
So I'm getting the figure now. So we're looking at around 2.5 million of people.
And this is all the segments that you surveyed. 2.5 million, including the youth, the old, everybody else, young.
No, talking about the unemployed.
Unemployed in Ghana.
Yes.
So in Ghana, out of the current population, 2.5 million people are unemployed.
Yeah, so the 25% that he talked about, I'm sure he was referring to the needs.
Yes.
And so let's be careful talking about the unemployment rate for the youth population as opposed to the needs. And so for the unemployment rate, we are looking at the population, so specifically the youth that we are talking about, the population 15 to 35 years, who did not engage in any economic activity, but then they were ready to offer themselves for jobs. They were available for jobs. And so that is how we are defining the unemployed population. But the need, if you recall what Prof was talking about, the population who, so here the population I'm talking about, the youth, who were not in employment, they were not in education, and they were not in training. So ideally, we expect that if you are not employed, then you should be either engaged in some form of training or be in some education. And that is what we were talking about as need.
Yeah, and that number, it definitely will strike a lot of concern for a lot of the policymakers, because this is a group that they are really available to be exploited. They have absolutely nothing to lose, no training, they're not in school, they're simply unemployed. That definitely is a big challenge, is it not?
Yes, it is. It is, and that is why these groups were highlighted during the presentation, so that policymakers, Prof keeps talking about having proper targeting, and that's why the disaggregation of the data, becomes meaningful. And so the idea was to highlight this so that policymakers will know where to target in terms of policy decision making.
And clarify. So this is the group that we had the clarity about that says 1 in every 4 youth will be in that category, correct? So 1 in 4.
Yes.
1 in
Yes.
4.
Yes.
1 in 4 of youth in this country will be in this particular category.
Sure.
Okay. And as we speak currently, the main purpose behind research is to inform policy. What is the collaboration between yourselves and, say, the government implementing agencies to take this and use that to inform policy going forward? Has this been transmitted formally? What are the conversations going forward?
No. So, yes. So usually it happens at different levels. For instance, at the onset of this program, usually we bring key stakeholders together to be part of the administration of the program. And then when we get the results like this, we also make sure that the policymakers have access to this information. And we even go further to make sure that we bring out the specific issues that needs to be looked at, and through those collaborations, we are able to support in terms of giving directions as to what to do next.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on News Night. And we would hear from one of the youth, somebody who is unemployed, really, because this is really what this is about. And I want to hear from you wherever you are tonight. If you're one of those affected by this, let's hear your story. The concern there, listening to the chief statistician, the Ghana Statistical Service, confirming that in Ghana today, 1 in 4 youth fall into the category of people who do not only have jobs, they don't have jobs at all, they are unemployed, but they are not in training, they are not in school, they are doing absolutely nothing to even build themselves up for employment. And that's where the concern has been, if you read all the security reports, is that this group of people become very vulnerable. Let's bring in Dr. Ishmael Norman, security analyst, joining us on the line. Doc, thanks for your time here on Newsnight.
You're welcome, Evans.
Doc, you listen to the chief statistician tell us that 1 in 4 youth in this country, not that they're unemployed, that's bad, but that group, they're not in training, they're not in school, they are not planning to get one, they're just simply there and unemployed. What would you say to that in terms of all the reports that we've read, that you've talked about extensively, about how that group becomes very vulnerable targets for all nefarious activities?
Well, I think, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think this is a clear sign of a non-performing government when you have 1 in 4 people who basically have given up the opportunity, and these are young people. So structurally, they don't actually have a chance to even compete, because maybe they don't have the certificate, they don't have the training, they have absolutely nothing. So this is a potential cohort of people that can easily be exploited, because they are very vulnerable to all kinds of encroachment, including terrorists, including vigilantism, particularly coming to 2024 election, and so many other criminal vices that people can basically exploit them for. So it's not a very good picture. I wouldn't even waste time to diagnose whether it's structural, whether it's segmentation theory we have to use at it, whether it's economic theory we have to use, because this is a clear sign of a failed government. Simple.
How do we mitigate a potential devastating outcome because of the significance of the number we are talking about, 1 in 4. What do you do to mitigate? I mean, we're in a current economic crisis, so I guess an immediate economic solution it's not realistic. But can we mitigate?
I think we in Ghana, particularly in the last few years, we have not practiced meritocracy. So, and it doesn't only have to be based upon university qualification, but rather upon what you can do if you're given the job. And because we are not looking to employ people based upon what they can do, we are basically pushing people away from the job market because they've given up hope. Maybe they are very good mechanics, maybe they are very good carpenters or plumbers, but they can't find job. Not because they are not looking for job, but they look for job for so long they've given up. Because until you are from a certain tribe, identity politics, until your father is this or that, until you are Ghana or Achim or whatever it is that we are using to place people in jobs these days, you won't get a job. So these are all signs of a very weak political system, social system that has not been run properly by adult controllers of this economy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ishmael Norman, a security analyst there. Now, talking about this particular problem, we've been speaking to one gentleman who is unemployed, an unemployed graduate, has been out of school for a while, has been searching for jobs and still not finding one. Listen to his story.
I completed in 2019, so it's been 4 years, minus service 3 years.
And how has that journey been?
It's been tough. I mean, day in, day out, as a young man, I mean, when you are young, you have the dream of going to school to get a job and then go through the hustle, and then after the years you don't get anything, even though you are trying as much as you can to get a job. Because day in, day out, jobs are posted. When you see the ad, you apply. Sometimes they contact you, sometimes you're unable to. They'll be like, they'll call you back, and then it's been tough. It's been tough.
The course that you finished with, and what sort of jobs you've been applying for?
Okay, so I completed with a BSc in IT management, information technology management. So anything related to IT administration, I apply for them whenever I see the job.
So talking about applications, do you know how many you've written over the years?
Over the years, I don't count, but then it's been a lot. Because like I was saying, as in when I see the ads, maybe on LinkedIn, or even I have friends who sometimes when they see ads on vacancies and all that, they send it to me. So to give you a specific number, I can't, but then it's been a lot. For me, I live close to a major road. It starts waking up, let's say Monday morning, and then seeing all these people going to work. Everyone is moving, your friends are all going to work, and then you are just home. It's traumatic. It hurts. Sometimes I can even shed tears, and I just tell myself, I mean, God knows best. So,
what about your parents? Are they okay with your situation? What have they been telling you?
They know how hard I'm trying. I'm not growing any younger, so I'm at the age where I feel I have to do something for the family because I have younger siblings.
So what have you been doing in your idle time? I mean, whilst you are trying to find a job, what do you do?
I get temporary projects. Since I'm home now, what I do with my free time sometimes is I have this group in my community. I organize free classes for tuition for them.
And that's an unemployed graduate there. And many of you have joined us with your messages on this revelation in the latest Ghana Statistical Service report. I think that the damning report of a consistent decline, this is on the press freedom. That's a story we'll go to pretty eminently here on Newsnight. And this one on the subject of the youth unemployment. Ghana is the complete leadership paralysis, where the number of youth-centered policies the successive governments in the Fourth Republic claimed to have implemented to elevate the youth from the web of unemployment. Sami in Kumasi centers that one. And this one from Ni from Kwabenya says, Evans, the National Population Council of Ghana is the institution mandated by the Constitution of Ghana to pick up this report by the Statistical Service and to coordinate attempts to address the issues raised in it. Government must do well to look into what is happening in that particular institution. And indeed, you can also join us with your thoughts on this story and more. 055-1111-997. Now, this is Ghana's worst ranking in the last 18 years. The consistent decline has got media watchers and Journalists Association concerned because Ghana has dropped 2 more places to rank 62nd in the World Press Freedom Index 2023. Ghana dropped 30 places on the global ranking to place 60th in 2022 and 10th in Africa. Ghana has since been witnessing a sustained decline in the press freedom rankings for a number of years now. The decline largely cited abuses and economic conditions of journalists. Safety of journalists featured strongly in a recently launched University of Ghana report. Now, here's a former dean of the School of Information and Communication Studies and professor at the Department of Communication Studies, Professor Audrey Gadzekpo, giving highlights of the report.
I think the first thing that the report draws out is how opaque media ownership is. You'll be very hard-pressed to find out the actual persons behind certain media organizations. What you are going to find is the name of companies, and that masks the true picture of who owns media in Ghana.
Apart from media ownership challenges, mainly concerns about safety, but also the poor working conditions of many journalists. Now, this is corroborated by a U.S. State Department report focused on violations recorded in 2022 in this country. It raised issues regarding attacks on the media. The Deputy Chief of Mission of the U.S. Embassy in Ghana, Nicole Ann Sherlock, says there is a need to protect the rights to freedom of speech and protecting journalists as a proper system to check false publications.
Ardent supporter of press freedom because we know personally what the world looks like without press freedom. Such a world loses connection to the truth and is influenced by those with, shall we say, less than democratic motives. Such a world ignores the voices of the people and concentrates power with a very few.
Well, today, the Ghana Journalists Association has, of course, been participating in an event to mark World Press Freedom Day. The current president of the GJA, Albert Jomfo, says the decline is a result of the continuous abuse of journalists.
One of our colleagues, Noah Nati Tame of Radio Abba, was recently detained for 7 days on false publication charges due to this bad laws. And this has affected our 2023 World Press Freedom Index, our ranking on 2023 World Press Freedom Index. Ghana has moved from 60 to 62. Ghana has moved from 60 to 62. Let's take note. 2 backwards. As the umbrella body of journalists in this country, Madam Chairperson, we will continue to ensure that any action or law that seeks to stifle free expression fails. Madam Chairperson, to ensure that free speech is always protected, it is essential that journalists who are the vanguards of free speech receive all the support they require to carry out their duties without hindrance or compromise.
Well, government, however, maintains that it has worked to deepen press freedom in Ghana. Maoli Segbefia is head of policy planning at the Information Ministry. He spoke on behalf of the Information Minister, Kojo Ponkrumah.
Over the years, we have also worked to deepen these freedoms by, for example, repealing the Criminal Libel Law and enacting a Right to Information Act aimed at providing a freer space for public discourse. Freedom of the press is legally guaranteed, as I've already pointed out. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, the promulgation of the 1992 Constitution has radically transformed the media landscape with the emergence of broadcasting services across the country. The creation of a liberalized media space with its attendant proliferation of television, radio, newspapers, and the use of the internet, the repeal of the criminal libel laws, and the passage into law of the right to information have all assisted in guaranteeing access to to freedom and justice for the media and the public in general. This development has introduced a refreshing pluralism onto our media landscape and has opened access to new and diverse voices that have promoted democracy and participation in governance and development. It is therefore not surprising that despite the challenges, Ghana's media landscape has largely been highly rated by international experts as free and independent.
Well, let's speak to the GJA. The General Secretary of the Association, Kofi Yeboah, joins us on the line right now. Hello, Kofi.
Hi, Evans.
Thanks for joining us. You just listened to Maoli Segbefia. He's the head of policy planning at the Information Ministry. He was speaking on behalf of the Information Minister, Kojo Ponkroma. Do you agree with his assessment?
Not entirely so. I think that it is one thing making provisions for the law, and it is another thing ensuring a conducive atmosphere. For example, we all know that in 2001, the MPP administration repealed the criminal libel law. That is fine. But we also know that Ohima Sechiwa, who formerly worked with Adom FM, was assaulted at the MPP head office. So if the law is there, but then we don't take steps to ensure that we abide by the laws. And one of our concerns that after the act is done, you have government officials condemning the act to let people know that this is not something you condone. Then we'll be comfortable in saying that we have a freer media space.
Tell me, as far as the association is concerned, what do you plan to do about this consistent decline? Worse in 18 years.
Yeah, we will continue to draw attention to some of the issues we think must be addressed. For example, in our president's speech today, we have drawn attention to Section 208 of the Criminal and Offences Act. At 29, and then Section 76 of the Electronic Communications Act, which we think are being used in recent times to attack press freedom. And we'll continue to make efforts to ensure that these laws are taken off our statute books.
And thank you very much. That's the General Secretary of the GJA. Well, in a related development, the British High Commissioner to Ghana has challenged journalists to always do proper, thorough research before coming out with their reports. Now, Harriet Thompson says there is too much misinformation in the system and must be checked.
It's so important to have journalists who are bold and committed enough to keep going until they've uncovered the story, till they've really got to the bottom of what's going on. I would urge them to do a proper, thorough job. There's too much misinformation and disinformation out there at the moment, and really effective journalism needs to be alive to that. The UK is going to be offering some training in that space to journalists. We've done some, we'll do a bit more, because there's a risk that well-respected journalists who are committed to that moral code, committed to ethical reporting, are being misled by some of that information that's out there at the moment. So it's about being alive to the risk, it's about being bold, being committed, and knowing who to turn to when something happens that makes you feel intimidated, makes you feel like you're being restricted from doing your job.
And she's going to be on PM Express later tonight. You want to make a date on PM Express. It's at 9 p.m. Tonight. It's going to be across many social media platforms as well. It's going to be on myjoyonline.com. Check out the live broadcast on Facebook and on YouTube. And George Yafe is here with business. After George, we will make a crossover to the election headquarters, which of course is Joy 99.7 FM. We'll bring you the latest in our build-up to that all-crucial, all-important NDC primary. George.
Well, Evans, coming up in business, Bank of Ghana moves to actively advance dollar support to bulk oil importers as it sells $20 million to aid their operations. And World Bank appoints former president and chief executive of MasterCard, Ajay Banga, as the new president of the institute. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business, Alliance Live and Ghana Pay.
Wonderful when everything worth doing is scheduled, hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog. That happy moment listening to your baby's heartbeat at the doctor's office. Or an arranged virtual meeting with that big client.
Buy airtime ahead of time with scheduled airtime service on MTN Momo. You can schedule your airtime purchase of any amount, daily, weekly, or monthly by dialing *170# option 3 and follow the process. Or simply dial *170*311# for a superb airtime purchase experience. You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302-764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website, www.kingdomgh.com.
Do you know Flamingo Paint has superior properties than any other paint brand on the market? Listen, when you take 1 bucket of Flamingo Paint, it's equal to several buckets of any paint brand on the market. So, Flamingo has superior hiding properties, superior coverage, it means it covers, and superior durability. Flamingo Paint, superior hiding. Flamingo Paint, superior coverage. Flamingo Paint, superior durability. Flamingo Paint, simply superior.
You welcome back to Business on Newsnight. The Bank of Ghana is still taking steps to ensure that bulk importers of petroleum products have the required dollars to finance imports. The central bank last week sold $20 million to these importers. Some industry experts have argued that the consistent intervention by the Bank of Ghana in terms of dollar supply may go a long way to help in stabilizing prices of petroleum products at the pumps. Meanwhile, some of the major oil marketing firms have reduced prices at the pumps. Now, Shell and Total are selling a litre of petrol and diesel at 12 Ghana cedis, 64 pesos. Another oil marketing firm, Petrocel, is selling a litre of petrol at 12 Ghana cedis, 28 pesos. Diesel, on the other hand, is going for 12 Ghana cedis, 32 pesos. Now, this is coming after Gore took the lead to adjust prices at the pumps by some 46 pesos for a litre of petrol and 53 pesos reduction for a litre of diesel. Industry analysts are linking the reduction to the marginal stability of the Ghana cedi as well as prices of crude oil on the international market. The World Bank has announced the appointment of former president and chief executive of MasterCard, Ajay Banga, as the president of the institute. Mr. Banga is taking over from Mr. David Malpass, who is set to leave the position at the end of June this year. There is more in this report.
Mr. Banga, who was also the vice chairman of the General Atlantic, is expected to serve for the next 5 years, beginning June 2, 2023. At the payment card group, that is MasterCard, Mr. Banga launched the Center for Inclusive Growth, which advances equitable and sustainable economic growth as well as financial inclusion around the world. He was honorary chairman of the International Chamber of Commerce, serving as chairman from 2020 to 2022. According to the World Bank, Mr. Banga's selection followed process agreed by shareholders since 2011. This process, the bank says, was merit-based and transparent nomination where any national or bank's membership could be proposed by any executive director or governor through an executive director. His predecessor, Mr. David Malpass, is stepping down after serving for more than 4 years at post. It is not clear for now why Mr. Malpass stepped down before his time was due.
And that is the profile of the new World Bank president, Ajay Banga, who is taking over from David Malpass as the new president. I mean, looking at where he's coming from, and we also understand that Ghana indeed supported his nomination. What this would mean for the country? Well, we're looking at those analysis in the coming days. The Electricity Company of Ghana has hinted that it is considering jail term for customers who access power illegally. The director at the company, engineer Dr. Yao Mafo, tells Joy Business this has become necessary following the trend they identified in Tema area during a 1-month revenue mobilization exercise, which ended in April. He says the company is expected to lobby Parliament to enact laws to punish these culprits.
I want to advise the customers to inculcate or prioritize the payment of bills. Gone are the days when we enjoy a lot of free things, and I know more, especially the residential customers. There are situations where they feel they need to even enjoy the power freely, but that should not be the case. We also want to advise customers to desist from illegal connections. When we embark on the exercise, one of the major things we came across is meter bypass and illegal connections, power theft in general.
Director at the Electricity Company of Ghana, engineer Dr. Yao Mafo. Now, the Agricultural Development Bank has joined the list of banks that have posted significant losses due to the negative impact of the domestic debt exchange program on their operations. The bank posted more than 370 million Ghana cedi loss ending December 2022. Investment in bonds that the bank feared will not be paid back on time was pegged at 375 million Ghana cedis. Now, despite this challenge, total assets reached 7.4 billion Ghana cedis. Deposits also went up marginally as compared to what they mobilized in the same period for last year. Now, panelists at the second edition of the Joy Business Town Hall meeting have made a passionate appeal to government to take steps to cut down its expenditure. They believe this is one of the surest ways to deal with the current challenges facing the economy. Speaking on the theme, post-domestic debt exchange program, IMF agreement, what next? Panelists said government should take a major role to play in ensuring that the economy is brought back on a sound footing. Let's get you the highlights of some of the discussions at the program.
What is government sacrificing is the question we should be asking. 40 fleets of cars following the president when they are going on tour. To finance fueling those cars alone is a lot of money. That notwithstanding, allowances, you're taking way too much allowances than you deserve. How about you tell us, okay, I'll cut down my salary by 30%, I won't receive allowances. When we look at our expenditure, there are a lot of loopholes in there that when we put them together, there would be a huge amount of money for us to do things with ourselves.
In as much as the program will come on board, it will come with certain conditionalities. But then, let's look at the positive side of it. If only they remain so disciplined with the money, and then they will be forced to cut down some of their expenditure and all that. Joseph mentioned about 40. All of them use V8. Now multiply that 40 by 2,000. Let's say fueling that V8 is 2,000. That's 80,000. Let's assume that government tours all the regions, 16 regions. 80,000 times 16, that's around 1,280,000 Ghana cedis. Where is it going? So it means that we actually need fiscal discipline.
And those are panelists at the second edition of the Joy Business Town Hall meeting on the theme Post-Domestic Debt Exchange Program. IMF agreement. What next? It happened at the UPSA Business Auditorium. Now, if you invested on the market, returns are picking up and you may be making almost 12% on your investment since the beginning of this year. And that's all up for business on Newsnight. Back to you, Evans.
John, thank you. Joe, thank you very much. And indeed, you're live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. And as I said, later we'll have election headquarters for you here on Newsnight. NDC flag bearer hopeful, Dr. Kablandu Four says his reason for contesting the upcoming primaries is to make all Ghanaians prosperous, since he has what it takes to win the 2024 polls.
We are all hungry. The tears in the eyes of Ghanaians everywhere. They should help me wipe the tears from the eyes of Ghanaians. Soothe the pain in the hearts of Ghanaians. That requires a leader with the courage to change things.
That's coming up in our build-up to the NDC May 13 primaries, and it's going to be live here on your election headquarters. You don't want to miss it. The sounds of angry customers of collapsed Gold Coast Fund Management Company picketing the Securities and Exchange Commission to demand the immediate release of their locked-up funds. The collapsed financial institution under the name Black Shield Capital Limited had about 55,000 customers whose funds were locked up shortly before the regulator revoked his license. Now, the group, of course, today hit the streets. For many of these customers, the past 5 years have been traumatic.
This condition is killing people. Yes. Old people are dying. Yes. And Mr. Adinfra says that there's nothing they can do about the death of the pensioners. Pensioners who have worked hard, served this nation with their sweat and blood. They have made their monies. They have put it down for their future use. And if a government policy, this company did not collapse by itself. Gold Coast Fund Management Company was solvent until a Akufo-Addo government touched it with the financial cleanup exercise. And this is a policy by government which was preluded with a lot of assurances from the government that he is doing this exercise to protect we the depositors, we the investors. It is going to protect our investments and our deposits. And here we are, 5 years. We are still counting. People are dying. And the Securities and Exchange Commission, Reverend Obama Tete and his entourage today in the meeting, they told us that they can do nothing about the death of the pensioners. We are calling on the nation. This is not our fight alone. Let the nation arise. It started with the financial cleanup exercise. It got to individual bondholders. It got to pension bondholders. Now pension funds are on the way to be touched.
And joining me in the studio right now is my colleague who was with them today. James, you followed them today. They had some assurances. In fact, claims have been made that they've been paid, but they say that's not exactly the case.
Right, Evans, as if we may recall, in 2020, President Akufo-Addo said these customers or these depositors had been paid, but it's been almost 3-4 years now. And according to these Gold Coast aggrieved customers of Gold Coast Fund Management, none of them, they are over 55,000, none of them have received any payment from the Securities and Exchange Commission as well as that of the Ministry of Finance. They claim there is some sort of foul play there because according to them, according to the convener, he actually received some messages from some insiders that had to do with the NPP government that they actually disbursed this money in 2020. So these monies are supposed to be paid to these customers, but I don't know what's really happening. So they just want the government to investigate and know where these monies were being paid and through which medium were these monies paid.
Okay, so that's what they've been asking today.
Exactly.
They went to the SEC.
Yeah.
Did anybody from SEC come out to officially address them?
No. So we were there for almost 5 hours. We were just trying as much as possible to speak to any staff or any member from SEC, but it appeared all attempt to reach out to any member of SEC proved futile. They are just not ready to speak to the media, let alone even having a conversation with the aggrieved customers there.
Okay. Didn't tell you what their next step is?
Well, so there's a 3-day picketing at the premises of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and they tell me if nothing is being done, they will continue to picket until this particular matter is being resolved.
Okay, thank you very much, James. Let's do sports now. When Bao is here with the latest, and there's been a lot of trolling of Chelsea supporters. I hope you're not one.
I'm one. I'm a proud
it's
Chelsea
okay.
fan.
Please go on and tell us what the latest is. It's good to tell us the latest because that's yesterday's story.
Yeah.
Right? I'm trying to help you. I know I like you.
It's okay. It's
I
okay.
like
It's
you,
okay.
yes.
We'll be back. No doubt. We'll be back. But it's the fans of Paris Saint-Germain who are actually who've ramped up at the club headquarters demanding the exit of Argentine for Lionel Messi. Of course, this follows controversy for Lionel Messi's unauthorized trip to Saudi Arabia and subsequent sanction by the club, which involves him being suspended for 2 weeks and fined undisclosed amount of money for that unauthorized trip to Saudi Arabia. Let's hear the fans of Paris Saint-Germain as they chant that Lionel Messi should leave their club. Paris Saint-Germain fans there. But interestingly, Lionel Messi himself, we understand he has decided to leave the club when his contract expires at the end of the season. And of course, this decision was reportedly firmed up following the recent development, part of which, like I mentioned, the suspension that has been given him and the fine handed to him for that unauthorized trip to Saudi Arabia. We understand their interest from Saudi Arabia, from America, and even Barcelona. A sensational return to Barcelona in there for Lionel Messi. So that's it, events. Big Lionel Messi development in France. He went to Paris Saint-Germain to help them win the Champions League. Lionel Messi, Neymar, Kylian Mbappe. But that's how he ends. He's going to leave the club. Which is a little bit of his reputation dented.
Yeah, never thought I would live to see the day when a group of supporters will gather to protest against Messi.
Yeah.
And demand that he leaves their club.
Yeah.
This is historic.
It's historic. It's historic, of course. And what even makes this worse is because over the weekend they lost to Lorient 3-1. And the night after they lost, then Lionel Messi jets to Saudi Arabia to go and have what was described as vacation. And the fans are clearly unhappy about it.
Thank you very much. This is your election headquarters. And of course, here on your lecture headquarters, the last couple of weeks, we've been building up to that NDC national primary to elect not only a presidential candidate, but also parliamentary candidates as well. And tonight we're focusing on one of the front runners, Dr. Kwabena Duffuor. He's hoping to lead the party into the 2024 polls. The former finance minister.
He believes he can turn around the economy.
Every Ghanaian, no matter the birth of his or her circumstances, should have equal opportunity in our system to achieve whatever he or she wants to achieve. I'm not saying that. That dream will bring about prosperity and happiness.
He will face off with former President John Dramani Mahama in Kojo Bonsu. The Economist Intelligence Unit in its April 2023 country report on Ghana noted that the NDC can revitalize its prospect of electoral victory with a new candidate such as Dr. Kwabena Duffuor. The former finance minister believes he stands a better chance.
I'll ask my colleagues to help me do that. No one person solves a problem. And no one person is big enough to do anything. That's why in the Bible, the Creator himself, when he was creating a man, said, let us create what? Let us. In the Bible, the Lord never said, I. No, he said, let us.
Well, another contender in this race to lead the NDC, Kojo Bonsu, says he has no intention of stepping down from the contest. Should there be any approach from any quarters asking him to do so in favor of any of the candidates? Now, the former mayor of Kumasi is confident he will win.
The National Democratic Congress is gearing up to elect its flag bearer to lead the party for the 2024 parliamentary and presidential elections. Speaking in an interview with Joy News on his campaign, Kojo Bonsu said no amount of compensation can convince him to rescind his decision.
You see, I think this is a no question. Because how? We've gone through paying a whole lot, a heavy amount of 500,000. I've been all over the country, all regions, all constituencies. My last 47 constituencies left in Ashanti. And you're saying that I'm going to withdraw 11 days to the time. For what? And for who? Oh, Massa, I'm not the type who. Very firm and very straightforward. Okay? What is compensation? Then what is the point of, I want to tell people what I can do for Ghana. There's no point in collecting compensation and not do what you want. No, I don't believe in that.
The NDC is expected to hold its presidential and parliamentary primaries on Saturday, May 13th, 2023. Kojo Bonsu believes he has an antidote to the challenges confronting the NDC. He has designed what he terms as prestige card to be given to party members in good standing as a form of health and social support.
The reality is that our members, even when we're in government, they feel very unnoticed. And they still run in poverty. And this is to come and relieve, especially funeral charges and hospital charges breaks them down. And this is to bring hope to them. It's for NDC people. And I've designed this to make our grassroots happy and I'm thinking of NDC. That's the most important thing.
Kojo Bonsu described his campaign as clean and he is a stronger contender in the presidential race.
My team, wait and see.
For Joy News, Nana Boachi Danko Yadom, Kumasi.
That's it for Newsnight tonight. Tomorrow, we will bring you a focus on Asawase constituency in the Ashanti region. It's a brutal race there between the former minority chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak and a host of others who are seeking, scheming, conspiring to remove him. And this you don't want to miss on your election headquarters. It's time for Strong and Sassy. And what a conversation in prospect. The challenges of single motherhood and finding love. Oh
yes.
My goodness.
Hi, Evans.
Hello.
Hi. So last week somebody forwarded me this conversation that was going on Facebook about how men would meet a woman and they really like her until they discover that she has kids and then problem. And then also when they talk to their mothers about it, their mothers are like, no, we don't want. I mean, I'll give you the details of that thread when we actually start the show. So it got me thinking, you know, what are the kind of challenges that women who have kids have when they're trying to get back onto the market. So yeah.
I like that, onto the market.
Yeah.
There's a certain gentleman approaching the microphone. I wonder, you think he has an experience?
I'm sure he has. He has an opinion. He's an ancestor, so he has an opinion.
Oh,
on
he
everything.
has a personal experience to share.
Hello, Winston.
Hello, Winston.
How are you?
You're good. Winston, all of
we
a
are not
sudden.
speaking tonight. But yeah, so that's the conversation. But you know, it's funny because then I also have a number of friends who.
Why do they want to get back onto the market?
Wow. Why shouldn't
He
they?
spoke. He found his voice.
No, it's just a question. What market is there again?
Yeah.
So for example, Winston, let's say you got married at 25, right? You have twins. You had twins at 26, and then your husband passed away when you're 28. Is the expectation of society that you will be single until you?
No. You marry again.
So why are you?
You marry somebody like you.
Wow, why must it be somebody like?
Oh, he will understand you better.
That's not necessarily true.
Maybe.
From my experience.
I don't know. So. Maybe.
Yeah. Anyways,
I'm lost right now. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Winston is saying that if you're a single mother, and you should maybe marry a single dad as well, so that there's some kind of.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of equity.
Well, that's why we're having the conversation, and the phone lines will be open because I know that's for this one, dear. You guys are going to have a lot to say. So let's have the conversation. Stay tuned in. Strong and Sassy is coming up next.